campus authentication to Globus Online through CILogon. Second is Globus Online endpoint activation using OAuth for MyProxy. And the third is to mention that CILogon also can provide X509 certificates for other uses outside of Globus Online. So OAuth for MyProxy is open source software that provides an OAuth interface for providing certificates from a MyProxy certification authority or a MyProxy repository. And CILogon is an online service that uses OAuth for MyProxy to issue certificates based on campus identities in the InCommon Federation. So you saw this morning in Steve's demo that Globus Online supports many authentication methods. If you click that alternate login link, then it pops up multiple options here, and the options that show an arrow going away are some of the options that support OAuth for MyProxy. So that includes the Argonne, let's see if that's working, yep, the Argonne Leadership Class Facility and the European Grid Infrastructure and Exeter, we heard from Lee about this morning, CILogon, which I'll talk about in a minute, NCSA Blue Waters, and also Exceed. So in this case, if I select CILogon for an InCommon or campus login and click the Proceed button, then what that does is start off the OAuth protocol flow for connecting Globus Online with CILogon. So my web browser is redirected from the Globus Online page to the CILogon page. So we arrive at the CILogon page, and you see it's skinned because this is part of a Globus Online interaction. So we've got the Globus Online logo there, trying to keep a consistent interface for the users. And so we already heard about the different skins that Globus Online is supporting, and CILogon also provides that a similar capability. So here I can choose among over 75 identity providers in the US InCommon Federation for my login. And so in this case, I'm going to pick the University of Illinois, that's where I'm from, and click Log On. And CILogon will remember my choice for next time. It'll give me that as the default by putting a browser in my cookie in my browser. So now that's going to kick off the SAML protocol, the Security Assertion Markup Language protocol that's used in the InCommon Federation to redirect my browser to my campus identity provider, in this case, the University of Illinois. So this is a page that's very familiar to me as I access University of Illinois applications or other applications around the network that are taking advantage of the InCommon Federated identity management. So if I enter my campus username and password here and click Login, then that's going to issue a SAML assertion to authenticate me. And a really key point here is that I'm authenticating at my campus. I know that the URL that my browser is showing is an illinois.edu URL. That's where I'm entering my password. CILogon never sees my password. Globus Online never sees my password. So as I mentioned, after I successfully log in at the University of Illinois, that involves verifying my password through Kerberos. Then the University of Illinois SAML identity provider is going to issue a SAML assertion, which then CILogon is going to check, make sure it's properly signed and truly comes from the University of Illinois. And then from that assertion, it's going to find out my identity, so find out my name and email address. And then CILogon will issue an OAuth token to Globus Online, completing the OAuth protocol that was kicked off earlier. And that OAuth token allows Globus Online to get a certificate from the CILogon Certification Authority, which is actually an installation of MyProxy, that has that name and email address that came from the University of Illinois identity provider. So all of that combining SAML with OAuth and some X509 thrown in, the result is I'm logged into Globus Online. So pretty exciting. The first time I did that, Globus Online is going to prompt me for my Globus Online username and password to do the account linking. But then every other time, it'll get me logged right in. And then Globus Online provides you the ability to manage those account links in the Manage Identities page. And so you can see here that besides my University of Illinois InCommon identity, I've also linked my NCSA Blue Waters and my Exceed identity. And I'll show the Exceed option next. So now I want to move files. And endpoints in Globus Online may require different credentials. So in the case of moving data between Exceed endpoints, they want me to use a certificate issued by certification authorities trusted by Exceed. And so in this case, it's going to prompt me to authorize these endpoints using the Exceed MyProxy OAuth service. So if that prompt comes up, I click Continue, and we kick off another OAuth flow, which redirects my browser to Exceed's OAuth server. And so again, we see the servers being customized for Exceed to give the Exceed look and feel. The Exceed user knows that this is an exceed.org URL where I'm entering my username and password. I'm not giving my Exceed username and password to Globus Online or to some other site. So if I enter my Exceed username and password here and click Sign In, then what Exceed is doing is talking directly to a MyProxy server, so it's not doing any SAML stuff in this case. And it's MyProxy is verifying that my Exceed credentials are accepted, and it's issuing a certificate into my session. Then the Exceed OAuth server issues that OAuth token back to Globus Online, and just as before, now Globus Online is able to get a certificate based on my Exceed identity. And so now the result is that Globus Online has a certificate from one of the Exceed certification authorities that I can use to transfer files, in this case going between Trestles and Stampede. So that showed CILogon, that showed using OAuth for MyProxy to activate another endpoint using the Exceed OAuth service. And finally, I want to talk a bit about CILogon issuing X509 certificates that you can use for a variety of use cases with the Globus Toolkit or other types of PKI-based cyber infrastructure. So one option is to log directly into the CILogon web interface that's at https://CILogon.org. And so if you want to give that a try now, that would be great. And so you got that same list of over 75 identity providers there to choose from. So hopefully your identity provider is already there. If not, please let me know. Please send an email to help@CILogon.org, and we'll try and get more added. One of the big efforts of our project is to continually try to grow the number of identity providers that we can support for this federated authentication. So if you use the direct login interface to CILogon, what you'll be able to do is choose a password to protect the private key associated with your certificate, and then you get a link to download your certificate, so you can download it right into your browser. You can right-click to save it to your desktop, or you can copy that link and maybe use curl in a browser session to download your certificate to some remote, use curl in a remote SSH session to download your certificate to a remote session and use it there. So we try to support flexible access to your certificate, however you need to use it. We also support command line or thick client interface to fetching certificates from CILogon using the SAML enhanced client protocol, SAML ECP. And so this shows an example of a Perl script that you can download directly from the CILogon site and run and choose among the identity providers that support this SAML protocol. You can see it's a much smaller list, but happily the University of Illinois and also LIGO are listed on this list. So Scott Cranda is smiling over there. So here I enter the same University of Illinois username and password, and I can get a certificate that I can create a proxy from, use with GSI/SSH or Globus Run or Globus URL copy. So if your campus is not on this list, I'd love for you to contact me, and we could work with your campus to encourage them to also support this aspect of the SAML protocols to give access to your credentials even outside the web browser. So I mentioned the CILogon skinning capability. We provide customization both in the user interface but also in the back-end behavior, so we can customize which certification authority instances are used, or what additional attributes go into the certificates, or maximum lifetimes of certificates. We have lots of options, and we've worked with different communities to give them the customized, integrated experience that hopefully makes PKI a little bit easier to use. And so if you're interested in that, please definitely contact me or contact help@CILogon.org. And so here are links to the open source software that's underlying CILogon. In addition to the OAuth for MyProxy software, and of course MyProxy software underneath that, CILogon also uses the Shibboleth software, which is what implements those SAML protocols that we can use both in the browser and on the command line to interact with the large number of identity providers on campuses around the nation as part of the InCommon Federation. And you can build your own CILogon if you'd like to. You can combine a Shibboleth with OAuth for MyProxy, or link OAuth for MyProxy with your existing single sign-on system like Exeter did that we heard about from Lee this morning. And we provide OAuth for MyProxy software that you can install. We have published specifications so you can write your own code against it, and I think soon the Globus Connect multi-user will also have OAuth support. We'll hear a bit about that from Steve Tiki tomorrow morning. That'll make it even easier for you to integrate with campus authentication using this OAuth protocol. So that's my quick overview of these technologies, and more information at CILogon.org and ScienceGatewaySecurity.org. That's my email address, and happy to take comments or questions now. Thanks.
Questions?
Can you talk a little bit about if there's any hurdles for enabling the CLI aspect of CILogon?
Yeah. The support for that SAML enhanced client protocol is fairly new in the Shibboleth identity provider. And so before that was part of the standard Shibboleth identity provider software, it was fairly difficult to configure and support. But so now that campuses are installing the latest version of the Shibboleth identity provider software, it's a fairly simple customization. It does mean that people will have the possibility of connecting to your identity provider not just with a web browser, but through these other interfaces. And so it's always good to have a security discussion and a load balancing or a capacity management discussion around that. But these days, so long as you're using the Shibboleth software and you're using a current version, it's fairly easy to add that ECP capability. So in part, we just need to encourage our campuses to do it. Yeah. Yeah, that's so in case not everybody heard. So the question is about right now when you activate a Globus Online endpoint using CILogon, but you're using the Globus Online CLI interface, it gives you a URL to go through the browser authentication. And currently, Globus Online isn't supporting this ECP-based method, partly because it's only 7 identity providers. But I think that they could. Globus Online could, and it would really be a good motivation to support it as we encourage more campuses to support ECP. And then that gives you an interface that works end-to-end completely outside the browser.
I'll just follow that up by saying LIGO would very much like to see Globus Online support the command line interface to ECP. If you can have that done by tomorrow, Steve, that'd be great.
Thanks, Scott.
Other questions?
Okay, thank you.